You're not listening to me. Well, you're not listening to me. This is what's happening underneath the surface in almost all arguments and attack defense cycles. This is two people trying to get their point across and neither one feeling heard. People then often get louder and uglier in an attempt to be heard and get their point across, or they just shut down and don't bother anymore because nothing's working. Now, this scenario accounts for more than half, way more than half of the communication problems in relationships. It's also a factor for the vast majority of people, probably close to 99% of people, that end up in conflict in communication coaching or family mediation. This is two people trying to get their point across and neither one feeling heard. Does this sound familiar to you? Do you recognize this? Well, the most obvious conclusion to jump to here is that the problem's in the listening or the lack of listening. And while sometimes this is true, I can tell you most of the time it's not. In relationship communication, listening doesn't work. Even done well, listening doesn't do what we want or what we need it to do. In this video, I'm going to deep dive into this essential topic, why listening doesn't work, and what we can do, what we need to do to communicate effectively, to move away from argument and debate and move towards conversation. Now, I've been looking forward to sharing this video with you for a long time. My name's Simon Dadley-Moore. I'm a conflict and communication coach. I'm a family mediator. My passion is communication. For over a decade, I've been deconstructing the different styles of communication and learning to replicate their patterns and structures and makeup. And through this, I've developed frameworks and strategies to assist you to communicate constructively. And the learning in this video is informed by these years. So please travel with me here through to the end of the video. I've got a lot to share with you. First up, my experience is most of us are listening. Most people are listening. They just don't necessarily agree with what they're hearing, but they are listening. Some people are even really good at listening. You might be really good at listening. People can be good at paying attention. They can be great at not interrupting, but this still doesn't help. Their partners still don't feel heard. Why? Why is this? Well, I think George Bernard Shaw got it when he stated that the single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it's taken place. The single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it's taken place. Now, the biggest problem with listening in relationship communication, honestly, is the illusion that it works and the illusion that it's even important. We've all been sold this, haven't we? We've all been led to believe that listening's so important, that it's the key to healthy communication. I was often told when I was younger, there's a reason we've got two ears and one mouth. It's because listening's twice as important as talking, and we need to do twice as much of it. It's the listening that's important. And yeah, obviously, in some contexts it is. In order to learn, we obviously have to listen. But in order to create conversation and in order to manage and resolve conflicts, to work through the many challenges of relationships and family life, a focus on listening as the most important tool is a distraction away from what really matters. It's because we all believe that listening is one of the most important parts of communication that we then also believe that once we've done the listening, we've done our bit. And now we can get on with having our say. We can get on with having our turn. Because I listened, you should feel heard. It's my turn now. What I want to share with you today is that it's not the listening that's important, it's the feeling heard. And the problem is that most of us believe that the listening and the feeling heard are the same thing. And they're not. They're completely different. One does not equal the other. Listening does not equal feeling heard. Whether your partner feels heard is often completely unrelated to whether you've been listening or not. I can tell you, if all we had to do was listen and then people would feel heard, all communication and all relationships would be so much easier, and I'd likely have a different profession. So let's go deeper here. For a start, the listening and feeling heard are carried out by different people in the communication. When your partner's sharing a story, when they're sharing their experience, the listening part is yours. The feeling heard part, however, is theirs. And it's up to the person sharing the story to determine whether or not they feel heard. Again, out of the two of these, the listening and the feeling heard, there's only one that's important, and that's the feeling heard. You could do the best listening in the world for your partner, honestly. But if they don't feel heard by you, they're going to respond to you as if you're not listening. They'll behave as if you're not listening. And the likely outcome is they won't listen to you. And guess what? You're not going to feel heard either. Listening on its own, without the feeling heard, is therefore a complete waste of time. Honestly, unless the person sharing feels heard, they might as well be talking to a brick wall. Now, there's nothing you can do that obviously guarantees your partner feels heard. That's up to them. But there are absolutely things that you do that either helps this or harms this. And to explore this further, firstly, really what's important is to understand, well, how do we all assess and determine whether or not we feel heard? What evidence do we use? Well, initially, we look for what people are doing and saying whilst we're talking. And this is where the listening comes in. If people stay quiet, if they pay attention, if they don't interrupt, if they nod and make all the right noises at the right time, then this generally ticks off that part of the assessment. But it's after this though. After this, that the final and overriding assessment on whether we feel heard comes from what people do and say after we've finished talking. And here's the problem. Let's just say your partner's talking about money, and you listen and you pay attention and you never interrupt. You even make the right noises, a yes and a nod of the head at all the right times. You did the listening. Eventually they finish talking. Now they finished because they chose to talk, not because you've interrupted. Quite clearly they finished their go. They finished what they wanted to say. You did the listening. Quite clearly it's now your go, and it's right here. It's right now and right here that what you do and say will determine whether your partner feels heard. Not how well you did the listening bit. At best, by doing the listening well, all you've really proven is you've politely waved your turn. There's no proof you've heard a thing. So, your first response to what your partner is saying, that's what they're going to use to determine whether or not they feel heard. How we respond, especially our first response, is far, far more important than listening in relationship communication. Now, we need to put our effort into getting better at responding, not getting better at listening. I really believe that. Without effective response, the person sharing might as well be talking to a brick wall. I hope you can follow me here. Please leave any questions in the comments below. It's really important to me that we can travel together on this. Please take the time to chew on it. There's a lot here. Feeling heard, not listening, is the gateway through to human connection. It's the gateway through to effective communication and conversation. Feeling heard is created from how we respond, not how we listen. How well we respond is therefore far, far more important than how well we listen. Responding well is more important than listening well. Next week, I'll continue with part 2 and I'll deep dive into responding well. Whilst I've shared a lot of theory today, part 2 is going to be all practical. I'm going to share with you the one response to avoid at all costs and the 2 responses that make up the core of effective responding. Now, if this video has got you thinking, and I hope it has, if the minutes you've spent watching this have been worthwhile, and I absolutely hope they have, then please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, please share this video out to those that you love, to your friends, your family, and your colleagues. This is such important learning. Now, psychotherapist and author Esther Perel, she states, the quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life. The quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life. I really believe that. I then say, the quality of your communication determines the quality of your relationships. Let's all level up. We'll see you next week, and be kind to yourself out there.